Some people call our dreams false simply because, oh, well, that's not in the Bible, when referring to events that God has been showing us in the dreams. And here's the thing, not every single thing that's ever or will ever happen has been recorded in the Bible. Not even close. You know, do you think the only miracles God's done are in the Bible? No. In the last days, God says, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your young men will see visions. Your old men will dream dreams. Acts 2:17. Something not specifically being in the Bible doesn't mean God can't tell us. Unless that thing contradicts the Bible, of course. However, as this verse tells us, God is telling us things in these last days, revealing new things of future events as is consistent with how he did things thousands of years ago. He's still the same God yesterday, today, and forever. So, yeah, and you have to be careful because you may be like, well, that's not biblical, or whatever way you're looking at some of this stuff we're talking about, and it's like, does it contradict the Bible, or does it contradict your opinion of the Bible, your interpretation of Scripture? But yeah, the next verse I want to talk about, you know, that lets us know that God tells us, he tells of everything that he does ahead of time to certain people before he does them. Surely the sovereign Lord does nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Amos 3:7. So, I'm not calling myself a prophet, but I'm certainly a servant. So, I think that applies to me. I mean, he's certainly telling me these things, so it seems to match, it seems to line up, seems to be what that means. We're always learning. But yeah, just because something we're saying isn't in the Bible doesn't mean it contradicts it either. Just because we say that, like, well, Haley just got a word from God that New York is going to have, it's going to be destroyed by an earthquake. A large portion of the state is going to be, among all the other things. It's crazy. But so I just made a video talking about that, and she of course has her own video about the full detail about it. But just because the Bible doesn't record New York being destroyed doesn't mean that it's false. That's important to understand, because it's like, how does it contradict it? It's a silly comparison, but it's like, the Bible never mentioned that I would be wearing a hat today. Doesn't mean I'm not wearing a hat. Does that make any sense? I don't know. But yeah. I mean, but New York being destroyed, it might be in the Bible. And what I mean by that is that, because I don't think we know for sure what Mystery Babylon is, what place that is. And if it happens to be New York, well, then it is in the Bible, because it does say it will fall in 1 hour. Now, I don't know if this earthquake's going to have New York destroyed in 1 hour, but if it does, well, that lines up perfectly. I don't know. Just we got to be careful when we call people false, because oftentimes it's just our opinions, guys. We're just saying, we think you're false, but you're saying it as if it's a fact. We got to be really careful with that. You say, oh, that's not in the Bible. It's like, because some people say that it's wrong to, it's such a pet peeve of mine. So many people tell me, they're like, oh, it's so wrong to try to guess when the date of the rapture is. It's like, where in the Bible does it say we're not allowed to do that? And they'll go, oh, no one knows the day or the hour. But it's like, the day or hour of what? It doesn't say the day or hour of the rapture. It says the day heaven and earth pass away. And even with saying that, again, it may still also be referring to the rapture, maybe all connected in a way. I don't know. But even with saying that, even if we can't know the day or the hour, which I agree we probably can't. The more I'm looking into this, the more I'm studying, the more that my guesses aren't coming true, aren't right. It seems like we probably won't know the day or hour. And I'm completely fine with that. I don't need to know the day or hour. But why can't I? Why can't I guess? Why can't I look for it? Why can't I look for the approximate time, which, I mean, God did say if you are not looking, that he'll come at an hour you will not expect. He'll come at an hour that you won't expect if you aren't looking. So he's literally telling us right there that if you're looking, which is what I'm doing, then he'll come at exactly the hour I expect. Now that doesn't mean the exact literal hour, like 9 p.m. on a Thursday. That's not what it means, right? I think when he refers to hour, it just means a specific, like, or at least a general point in time. Like the season. We'll know we're in the season. There's endless reasons why it's clear that we are the last generation. Endless, guys. You can't take one Bible verse and go, oh, well, none of this other stuff matters. No, you've got to take the Bible as a whole living word, not one verse, and just say, forget it, we can't have any idea when he's coming. It's probably going to be in 1,000 years. It's like, you kind of sound like you don't even want him to come back yet. Some people don't want him to come back yet because, and I'm not saying it's you specifically, whoever is watching this, but there are definitely people who don't want him to come back yet because they're not ready. Because they want to live in sin. They want more time here, which is stupid, foolish. You're a slave to your own flesh if you want to stay here any longer, to indulge in sin. If you have reasons of wanting to stay because you want people to be saved, that's a completely different thing, and that there's a lot of respect to be had for that. But I'm talking about the people who are like, well, I'm not ready to leave yet. They probably won't admit that, but like some people, they're like, I have vacations planned and I have all these plans, but what God says, he says, about the plans that I have for you. His plans are far greater. The plans that we're trying to make here on earth, the things we're excited about, that we want to do, that we want to stay here for, is like a single rose. And God's like, the plans I have for you are far greater. He has a mansion full of roses up in heaven for you. Come up there and enjoy those. Literally, like, he's preparing a place for us. If it were not so, he would have told us. Let go of whatever you're holding on to on this earth. And that's something that's been vulnerably so incredibly hard for me, but I've been learning to let go. It's like, I don't need to hoard all this stuff. I can just be like, who cares? I'm not keeping it anyways. I'm gonna be leaving soon anyways. None of this is going with me. None of this has any value whatsoever. Not even an earthly value. It's just worthless. This is just junk. It's just distractions. And even with saying that, I still have stuff that is hard for me to let go of. But, the more we let go of, the more free we are. The more freeing it is. I hope that makes sense. It's hard to always put my thoughts into words, but yeah. We are the generation. Israel becoming a nation 77 years ago, that is the fig tree generation. When you see all these things begin to happen, and they have begun to happen, look up, for your redemption draws near, because we will see our redemption, because it is very near. That's literally what it means. So I hope this blessed someone. Pray this reaches the right people. God bless. Peace.